fortunate in my patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, who has condescended to take me in hand. What beauty! What elevated style and affability! She is, of course, the proprietress of Rosings of a very, 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 very extensive property, though her daughter's indifferent health prevents her from being in town, and, as I told her myself, it deprives the British court of their brightest ornament.
Absolutely splendid.
Mr. Wickham has arrived! Mr. George Wickham, Papa. Pleased.
Delighted.
Parson Collins.
Mr. Wickham.
Always a pleasure to meet a gentleman of the cloth. I had a near miss myself.
I more than once observed to Lady Catherine herself that her daughter was born to be a duchess, and that though her elevated...
As Mr. Collins once again held forth.
Mr. Wickham suggested that I show him around the grounds.
Please excuse my temerity in accepting your sister's kind invitation with an almost unbecoming alacrity.
It is a great kindness to seek us out. The regiment, I hope, is not unhappily thwarted.
I cannot speak for the regiment, but I may say that I am personally improved by acquaintance with her family.
Courtesy very prettily put.
And sincerely earned.
Cannot help noticing, Mr. Wickham, certain coolness of regard passing between yourself and Mr. Darcy.
You have a keen eye, Miss Bennet.
And a curious one, sir.
Might you tell me how far Netherfield is from Meriden?
3 miles, perhaps?
Indeed. How long has Mr. Darcy been staying there?
About a month. He is a man of very large property in Derbyshire, I understand.
His estate there is a noble one. In fact, I have been connected to his family since my infancy. Are you much acquainted with him?
I have spent 4 days in the same household with him. I find him to be very disagreeable.
I think your opinion of him would in general astonish.
Really? He's not at all like Hertfordshire.
May I express surprise? The world is perhaps blinded by his fortune and consequence and sees him only as he chooses to be seen.
Well, even after my slight acquaintance, I find him to be a very ill-tempered man.
I fear I have considerable knowledge of him. The late Mr. Darcy, his father, was excessively attached to me. I cannot do justice to his kindness. His son and I were born in the same parish, sharing the same amusements. My father was his father's estate manager. The elder Mr. Darcy knew that the church ought to be my profession and promised me the family parish when it became available, or if not, a voluntary promise of providing for him. Both were countermanded by young Darcy after his father's death.
On what grounds?
Had the late Mr. Darcy liked me less, his son might have borne with me better. But his uncommon attachment to me frustrated me. He had not the sort of temper to bear the kind of competition in which we stood. In short, his behavior to me has been scandalous, but I do not trust myself on the subject. I can hardly be fair to him now.
And not thought Mr. Darcy as bad as this.
I do believe that almost all his actions can be traced to his considerable pride.
But can such abominable pride as his have ever done him any good?
I must own him to be liberal and generous, display hospitality, assist his tenants, and relieve the poor. Family pride and filial pride have done this. His father's preference for me has pricked that pride and made him my enemy.
I'm astonished with his intimacy with Mr. Bingley. Do you know him?
Not at all.
He is a good-hearted, charming, amiable man. He must not know what Mr. Darcy is.
Mr. Darcy can choose where he pleases. He does not want villains.
Well, it is my judgment that he deserves to be publicly disgraced.
Sometime or another he will be, but it shall not be by me. Miss Bennet, allow me to say that the troubling aspect of our subject has not made you a bit less delightful.
I suppose the relationship you have described will not allow your present at the upcoming ball at Netherfield?
I should fear discomfort for all involved, but make no mistake, Miss Bennet, I keenly feel the loss.
Whatever he said was well said. Whatever he did done gracefully.
Dear sister, I am all astonishment and concern. I know not to believe that Mr. Darcy is so unworthy of Mr. Bingley's regard.
I can more easily believe Mr. Bingley's being imputed upon
Then Mr. Wickham should invent such a history of himself.
It is so distressing. One does not know what to think.
I beg your pardon. One knows exactly what to think.
I know only with certainty that Mr. Bingley would have much to suffer if Wickham's charge became public.
Mr. Bingley?
I speak only as an observer.
Back at home, Mr. Bingley and Mrs. Bingley came to give us their personal invitation to the upcoming ball at Netherfield. While Mr. Collins...
I'm by no means of the opinion that a ball given of this kind by a young gentleman can have any evil tendency, and I am so far from objecting dancing myself that I take this moment, Miss Bennet, of soliciting the first 2 dances with you, especially.
And it then struck me that I had been selected from among my sisters as being worthy of becoming the mistress of Hunsford Parsonage.